There's no place to hide now for organizations and for people. You will be measured, you'll be monitored. It doesn't mean your job's at risk, but it may affect your salary increases or promotion.
Welcome back to another episode of FP&A Trend Series. Today, I will be speaking with Gary Cokins, and we'll be discussing some of the challenges preventing organizations from fully adopting FP&A. So Gary, can you explain what FP&A, financial planning and analysis, means?
Well, there's a lot of confusion and lack of consensus about FP&A. It's not a process or a system. It's really the integration of many methods. The problem is many organizations implement these methods in isolation of each other, and that you get a lot more synergy and power when you integrate these methods. And I'll talk about the methods in just a minute, I believe.
So why is there a growing interest in FP&A?
Well, as I mentioned, FP&A is really existing methods. So the good news is managers don't have to learn them. Some of the forces are, one is basically rapid decision making. Organizations don't wait now 10 years and make decisions. They basically have to make decisions on the fly. Another is strategy execution. Executives basically are pretty good at formulating strategy. Their big frustration is failure to execute strategy. That brings in the balanced scorecard, strategy map, KPIs. Another is just increased accountability. There's no place to hide now for organizations and for people. You will be measured, you'll be monitored. It doesn't mean your job's at risk, but it may affect your salary increases or promotion. Another is mistrust of the management accounting system for accuracy and relevance. A lot of managers know that many of the costs are flawed, misleading, the allocations are wrong. Activity-based costing is a technique and commonly accepted that basically resolves that. Another is basically poor customer value management. I really believe that today customers view almost all suppliers as commodities. And therefore, for suppliers to really be competitive, they really have to basically provide differentiated services to different types of customers, and they need to understand the cost and the impact of all that. Another force is budgeting. A lot of people laugh about the annual budgeting process. I think it takes too long to prepare. It's obsolete in a couple of months after it's published anyway. It caves into the loudest voice, strongest muscle. And so what we're really beginning to see is an abandoning of the annual budget and replacing it with, if you get ready for this, capacity-sensitive, driver-based rolling financial forecasts. When you make future decisions, you have to classify the behavior of the resources as sunk, fixed, variable, and the like. Another force is supply chain. Many customers view their suppliers as the enemy. That's got to stop. It's basically, they got to view them as their friends because you have supply chains competing against other supply chains. So they have to collaborate and find mutually beneficial opportunities for each other to save costs mutually. And the last force is really return on investment promises from large software vendors like in the enterprise resource planning or customer relationship management. I believe if you ask chief information officers 3 years after they've implemented a system, how well do you think it met or exceeded the ROI, the return on investment that the software vendor salesman sold you? Most of them will say, I don't think so. We put in a lot of work. The problem is actually, the ROI is in the data. It's very latent, and what the FP&A methods do is it releases that return on investment like seeds from the ground. So all of those, if you will, forces and pressures have caused interest in FP&A.
So what are some of the obstacles and challenges that are preventing organizations from fully adopting FP&A?
Well, the software technology is no longer the impediment. The tools are really, pretty robust now. The methods, quite frankly, the technology supports the methods. The real obstacles are really people related. They include resistance to change, which is human nature. People like the status quo. They involve not wanting to be measured or held accountable. They involve some managers who don't want other departments to know the truth, if there's more accuracy, even weak leadership. Sometimes if the executive team doesn't really understand or sponsor it. One observation I've made over my last 40 years, because I've had a long career, is that in the past, the best executives and leaders had the best answers. Today, that's no longer longer the case. The best executives and the best leaders have the best questions. There's just too much volatility and complexity and uncertainty for them to rely on gut feel or intuition, sixth sense, or the experiences they had in the past. They really need a culture for analytics, for analysis, for FP&A to basically improve their organization's performance through discovery and investigation and tolerance for error, making mistakes as long as you learn from the mistakes.
Well, thank you, Gary, for joining us on the FP&A Trends series. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you at home for watching. Don't forget you can catch previous episodes in this series by clicking on our channel. Goodbye for now.